Today is Saturday, April 5th, and this marks day one of the intro of power content from a new angle. There's places to go, and really a part of me even is like how many of us who are black, and I'll use black and melanin dominant interchangeably here, black and melanin dominant. How many of us will move in the direction of what we know? Because what I know is we're not a monolith. Many of you know that. And many of us are really just refusing to move in the ways and intelligence that only a melanin dominant woman can. That would have us being highly vulnerable, really, incredibly soft, and so walking as a particular power that we feel very unsafe, very uncomfortable, very unfamiliar, very exposed, being and walking around as, and understandably so. We are very electric beings, and we kill our own electricity all the time. One of the chief domains where we kill our electricity is modern day marriage, what we call traditional marriage. We kill it by wearing masks. And when we can feel and see how our husbands respond to us and as we start to get closer to our real states, and we see he doesn't like it, we see he feels less inspired, we see that's where arguments begin, that's where he starts to call us masculine, that's where he starts to feel uncomfortable, that's where he suddenly wants to go to another country and get another woman, or get on OnlyFans, or get on porn, or get on something else looking for that electricity. Because we live in a world that does not know what a woman is and is actually highly uncomfortable and are on guard to destroy a real woman. Okay. And so melanin dominant women who are in her full essence, the embodiment of this power, we rightly fear being walking instruments of softness, walking instruments of electricity, who are untethered by needing to be anything, prove anything, work for anything, fight all of the things that we do in front of or on top of who we actually are. And so in this live stream, among many to come, I want to start pointing to who we are. Yeah. And our that. And from my perspective, because you have yours, from my perspective, what it takes for us to do the work that's bigger than us. And so while this will be a conversation or a live stream that can be impactful for any and all women, I particularly want to talk to those of us who have incentive to move. So those of you who have a call that's bigger than you, that part is really important, because I like it. I like it. So this topic right here, withhold sex and attention or actually be powerful. This comes from what's prevailing in TikTok content, really all social media content. So much content around, this is how men siphon your divine feminine energy. Cut him off, go no contact, don't open yourself up to him in any way. They're predators. All they do is sexually assault women, and they, yeah. So before I go further, I'd like to share this. Ask, share, how many of you are in your real power? How many of you allow yourselves to show exactly who you are to the men you're sleeping with, married to, cooking for, making children with? How many of you allow yourselves, your raw selves, to be seen? The ugly, the soft, the scared, the vulnerable, the mean, the evil, and everything in between. How many of you have allowed your full power to be seen by the men you're sleeping with? How many of you have taken stands for yourself to really do the things you are called to do? How many of you entered your relationship as a trade agreement? I cook and give you coochie, you pay the bills and do these things. If either one of us stops doing that, I don't like you anymore. I don't want to be here. How many of you entered a relationship, or even before you enter, you put on your good looking outfit, hair, makeup, you go to events, or you go out about your day to run errands, and when you meet a man, you're not showing who you are. As you're dating him, he's courting you, you're not showing who you are. And the only reason why that relationship continues is because you're not showing who you are. Before I go on, please note, this is how women train men. This is why they think we're incapable. This is why they think, right? Because you, I, once upon a time, other women, we lie. We play these small roles because this is what a wife is. We play these small roles because this is what a woman is. Well, because he won't like me if I show who I really am. Well, because the way society is set up, we know that men don't like honest women. We know how fragile the ego is. So the agreement is play along. So and in my playing along, I know that looks like me lying to him. Right? And it's one thing to be doing this very consciously, like Er0tic teaches you all. Right? She teaches you, lie. You want your bills paid? Lie. You want a provider? Lie. You want the lifestyle of, him paying and lie. So it's one thing to be doing that very consciously. Lie. Let him think you're this small thing that needs to be protected in a garden somewhere, that you're incapable, that he needs to be your guard. Because, right, the way you train him and your way of being. I love how Nicole says, women who play the submissive game has their men by the nose, but the man loves it because he gets to feel like he has a place, right? That's why the girls in the foreign countries got it on lock. They're very unapologetic about needing a check, needing some money, right? Needing that man to take care of that whole family. So they cooperate in that game easy. So it's one thing to be like Er0tic, that's her game. She is unapologetic about it. She has a large, famous following teaching women how to lie, to get their bills paid so the man can have the feelings he needs to do, to pay, protect, provide. Right? So, okay. You agree to do that. So you agree to come with the maintenance of that as well. But Er0tic is constantly teaching you all about the maintenance of that. You keep yourself looking good. You need to be constantly having him doing things, spending money on you, where he don't have money for no other woman, where you keep him on his toes, make sure you leave the house looking good. You got to make him feel some fear, all the things she tells you to do, right? So it's fine. You just make sure you are okay with the maintenance of that, because apparently it works for a lot of women and men, right? So this is not about what's right and what's wrong. It's about you being true to you and what you're after. And I'm giving voice to the Shira 7 part. So to create a divide, to create clarity, so the woman I'm talking to can hear me. And the woman who I'm not talking to can remove herself from this conversation when she hears who I am and am not talking to. Okay, that's the only reason why I'm bringing up the Shira 7 piece. Okay, so for the woman who has a call that's bigger than her, I repeat, bigger than her, bigger than just a provider to pay your bills, bigger than just making a man feel scared to lose you, so you threaten him with things, okay? Bigger than what's taught and a lot of the femininity coaching and femininity content, okay? When I say bigger than you, I mean you have a deep call to change the world in some kind of a way, as it in truth, not lying to keep a man, not being less of who you are to keep a man, not training men that we are inferior, incapable, small beings. None of that. That's who I'm talking to. That's who this content is for. This topic of withhold sex and attention or actually be powerful, it's bigger than sex and attention. So, to return back to the questions I asked you earlier about, does your man know who you are? Or the men you're meeting, or your lover, or whoever? Are you raw with him? Has he ever seen you in the kind of power that has you out of control, convulsing, afraid, hungry? And I don't mean hungry for food. Does he know who you are? And is part of the pain in your relationship, which always starts with you, resentful, quick to anger, losing your creativity, playing small, ending up with an autoimmune disease or some other chronic pain in your body, cancer? These are the common ones. There are others, but these are the common ones. Depression. How much of that is because you are not true about who you are? How much of that is because you've cut off the electricity of your real, full, alive, erotic, abundant power? How much have you carried the burden of being repressed? And that instead of diving into the vulnerability and the radical honesty of that, you withhold sex and attention to try to make him do something. Because to dive into the vulnerability of the fact that your whole marriage is a lie, your relationship with that man is a lie. Because if you were to dive into the vulnerability and the responsibility of that, and admit that even you don't know so much of who you are, and that you've been holding that relationship together by lying, by being less, by withholding, that now you're sick, scared, resentful, angry, chronically depressed. And that feels like too much to deal with, too much to bear, too overwhelming. So instead, you withhold sex and attention. And what would happen if you were to engage in the very difficult work of exploring what you've been lying about, what you've been withholding, why you've been withholding it, what you're afraid of facing, and being to do the courageous work of facing yourself, and the face radically honest, still in the relationship with him. And if he falls off in it, that is part of the price you pay to come home to who you are. And that what if in that, being honest about who you are, questioning deeply, investing the time, doesn't happen overnight, investing the time in getting to know who you actually are under these years of veils, years of a facade, years of trying to be a good woman, a good wife, that what you uncover is your real power. Do you want that? Or is that too much? That's too much to bear. I don't want to deal with the consequences of that. I don't know how I'm going to pay these bills. I need this man to do this and this and that. That's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired. I don't want to deal with the shame of a broken marriage, what people are going to say about that. Too much of my identity is wrapped up in the wife look and the appearance of looking like we're successful. Too much of my identity is wrapped up in that. So all of this is too much. Leave me alone. No, I'm staying right here. Thank you. Somebody said that means being single. Thank you so much. I think that was a man who said that. Was that a man who said that? I can't. I just did a switching. I don't know. I think that's a man who, let's just assume that was a man who said that, even if it wasn't, okay? That means being single. Now, why does that mean being single? This is going to go deep. We're going to go deep now. Because in the work that you will do with me, for those of you who do the work with me, because again, you have a call that's bigger than you. Because you've reached the pain threshold where you cannot lie anymore. You've already gotten cancer. You already have an autoimmune disease. You already have chronic pain in your body because these are the consequences of repressing who you really are as a woman. Just talk to the women who have been married 20 years, repressing themselves. It's pretty much predictable for most of them. So we're going to go deep. So this person who said that means being single. Why does that mean being single? Okay. You don't have to answer me. You can if you want to. But I already know why we say, or that means being single. Because the way women have been up till now, and I want you to keep in mind, I said we're going deeper. So we're not only talking about those of us who are alive today. We're talking about the influence of those who have died, the women who have died before us. Your great-great-grandmother, her great-great-grandmother, her great-great-grandmother, all the great-great-grandmothers, and the great-great-great-grandmothers, and the great-great-great-great-grand, okay? And the influence generationally, right? And the training, okay, the training for generations is that this is what a woman is. Okay, this is a deeper topic you need to understand. Because then you'll see what a privilege it is for you to be born today. When you can see the privilege it is for you to be alive today, you will look at this very differently. This is not 1920. This is 2025. This is not 1820. This is not 1950. This is 2025. The women before us knew that they were lying to the men to keep it together. They knew. This is why they told your mother, and why your mother told you, get your education, get your money. You can get married, but don't depend on the man. This is why they told you. They knew they were keeping themselves small to keep the marriage together for the reasons that they did. They knew. This is why your grandmother and your great grandmother would say, I just saw a video about this the other day where it was that, did anybody here see that video where that old Black woman, it was, I don't know who was recording her, but it was another Black woman, maybe her granddaughter or her daughter or great, holding the video, recording her, asking her about the barefoot and pregnant statement. And that the barefoot and pregnant was the shortened version of barefoot in the winter, pregnant in the summer. Did anybody here see that video? That was the actual full statement. Keep her barefoot in the winter and pregnant in the summer. And basically talking about how to maintain control over a woman because women were financially dependent on men. And that because men knew that, this is how they would wield their power over women. Keep them pregnant, and have them cooking. Don't have them with an abundance of a closet. You know how women like to have shoes and clothes, and don't have them with an abundant closet. And this Black woman, she's on video. The video went viral. That's why I thought some of y'all might have seen it. She was talking about what it was like. Okay. And this woman looked like she might have been about 75. Okay. And so because women knew, Tasha says she saw it, because women knew that they were dependent on men, even the working women. I know we like to say Black women was working. That wasn't us. We always been working. Not working enough to live on our own. Okay? Not working enough to live alone, pay our own bills. And then when you're dealing with some serious oppression, the way it was during Jim Crow, you was probably better off living with a man. Okay? So women knew that they needed to suppress themselves to stay with a man. And all this was kept together through violence, through fear of being poor, through fear of, like she said, somebody's going to come, the white man is going to come and kill me and, have doing some slave work, something like that. So this is how all this was kept together. Not even, this is far before even slavery, but we can start there since that's where we have a lot of our energy hooked into and our psyche hooked into as Black people. So it was kept together through fear of violence, fear of being poor. Okay, it's important that we understand this to understand the privilege to be alive today and what your whole being and nervous system is coming up against when we talk about real power. And in that real power, we're actually showing men what a woman is and that those who are called to rise will. And rising does not look the way we like to romanticize rising. That's another topic for another time. Let me write that down. So energetically, what you and I who are alive today are living with, right? Remember I said the influence of our great grandmothers and their mothers. And so the energetic influence of that is that those grandfathers, great grandfathers had children, right? So their sons are alive today at 70. Their sons are alive today at 60, 50, 40, right? Their sons are alive. And these sons watched the mother in these houses be repressed. So this is how the women trained the men. Okay, this is how we train them. I don't think most of us recognize that we are training men, even in our smallness. We always talk about we're training men when we talk about, like, don't respond when he does do this, so he knows that he can't do that, etc. Do we also recognize that we're training them when we play small? Do we also recognize that we're training him when we act like we don't know when we do know? Do we also recognize that we're training him when we lie about who we are, when we repress our vulnerability, our softness, our vastness, and everything in between? Are you willing to accept the responsibility that you are training your sons, your cousins, your male cousins, your brothers, even your father? You're training all the men who you come in interaction with on what a woman is by how you engage with them. Are you willing to take responsibility for that, or do you not want that? You see, this is where power comes from. Because if you cannot own up to that and you're like, no, I'm not responsible for how my 25-year-old cousin perceives women by how he interacts with me. I'm not responsible for how my son perceives what a woman is because of how I choose and live and order my life. I am not responsible for how my father perceives women because of how I am with him and his daughter. I am not responsible for how these friends of my son who come to my house and watch how I walk around this house and how I interact with my son and how I deal with it. I am not responsible for how they perceive women because of the way they interact with me. If that is your conscious choice, you need to be willing to accept what comes with not being in the responsibility of how your son, your male cousins, your father, your male employees, and all the other men who you interact with in your daily life are knowing what men are, what women are, according to their interaction with you. Is that a conscious choice that you're not responsible for that? You see? Because when you repress and stay small, you're training your male cousins, this is what a woman is. You're training your son, this is what a woman is. I want you to get every little bit of this because, one, when your mother, grandmother, great grandmother modeled that, you don't even know what it looks like to be in the responsibility of your daily choices, your behavior, and how do you know? Like, you don't even know that you're doing that. So I'm going to be nuanced in how I'm communicating here. And I want to reiterate that I'm more so talking to women who have a call that's bigger than them, because I want to work with women who are serious about doing this work over time. This is not whole inside of a TikTok live stream. So let me finish and then I'll come to the comments, okay? So first of all, your admission of that, yes, I am responsible for how my son views women because of his relationship with me. Yes, I am responsible for how our male cousins and my father and, my son's friends, yes, I do take responsibility for how they view women. So you're starting there. And then, and I want to keep with the stream here so you understand what you're dealing with along the way, because it's easy to feel inspired here on a TikTok live stream. When you go out into your life is different. So I want you to understand the forces that are at work that has you even feeling the pressure, or that even had you hiding and playing small to begin with. The forces at work. This is a dynamic, multi-layered topic, okay? And I haven't even gotten into your sexual self. Like, this is the real ante of it, okay? So let's remember that your great grandmother, perhaps even your mother, depending how old she is, they knew they were playing small. Now, here's something that's really important for all of us to remember. Because we're in the soup of modern times, 2025, it's easy to think, it's easy to forget that this is all very new. Women's empowerment, women being liberated and knowing this is very new. If we just put this in the context of 1950, I mean, the civil rights movement hadn't even come yet. There were some places where women couldn't even vote yet in the 1950s. Okay. So while that was 75 years, like if we say 1950 now, that is 75 years ago, still the way women are running billion-dollar companies, even to travel by yourself, okay, is relatively new for women, okay? So it's so important that we remember that, because in this world where everybody is saturated with TikTok and Instagram and all that, and women's empowerment everywhere, and boss and traveling and we just but you really need to understand how animal we are, just at a base level of being a human, okay? And how this is very new to even your father. For those of you who have fathers in your 60s, 70, this is new to men and women. And then depending on how you were raised, even if you're a millennial, depending on how you were raised, right? If you have a mother who doesn't know who she is, who's repressed, who is training your father, right? If you were raised by your mom and dad who trained your father that women are these small, incapable things, but yet on the internet, you see all this women's empowerment thing, you got a whole, potentially, a whole conflict of things going on. So then when you go out to a restaurant, to a social event, a business event, a bar, etc., and you're in an active environment where all your unconscious is at work, you go with this idea about your plan, what you're doing. But when we are in social settings, all your unconscious is happening. How you're talking, the way you're breathing, the way you're doing, not leaning in and everything. And when we're in rooms, not only with people, just women, but particularly with men, okay, you need to understand, I'm connecting, circa 1950, 70s, 80s, 90s, up till now. You're in a room with men, all of your unconscious inheritance as a woman kicks in. Okay? Your unconscious inheritance kicks in. And remember, a lot of this has been based on survival, not thriving, not full power, not authenticity, survival, which is how the male thinks, period. The woman in her right state and her true state is not a survivalist. You have to train a woman to be a survivalist, okay? So this is why I said last week, that if a woman runs her feminine system through the masculine way, which most of us do because we live in a patriarchal society, and that's how traditional, and we say traditional, modern, whatever, this neutering contract that we call marriage, it is spiritually set up for a woman to hallucinate and disconnect from herself. That's actually the root of, what's the word? Starts with a C. There's a name for this, when basically a woman goes up under a man in marriage, in the modern day marriage. The spiritual principle placed over that is that it was essentially kick her into an amnesia, hypnotic state where she loses her feminine connection and hooks herself into the masculine way. That is the spiritual bind put over modern day marriage. But as part of the whole doctrine, covenant, all this, that if you look at the roots of the word, but you also look at the spiritual intent legally, okay? So there's the spiritual intent of the creators, but then there's also the legal, what it means legally, okay? You can go do your research on that. But essentially, it's the woman losing herself and placing herself up under the man, okay? This is why, for those of you who have experienced this, or your mother told you this, she's like, man, when I got married, I knew who I was. I was da, 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 and all that. And then I just lost my way. I just lost who I was. I've heard that. I gained weight. I gave all of myself to my kids and my husband, and I just lost who I was. We don't even realize. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off into this because it's really deep. And because most of us don't take spirituality serious, we talk like we do. We love to get all, we're a spiritual people and we're so. If you were that spiritual, you would understand what you're doing when you agree to the rules that govern modern day marriage. And any woman in her right mind would not agree to that. You would create a new marriage. This is not even about anti-marriage. You would create a right marriage that respects and values who you are and who he is. So, why did I even bring that up? Again, this is a dynamic conversation with multiple pieces. And so perhaps that was in part to help you understand how you cut yourself off, okay, spiritually, and why you fall into what feels like a hypnotic state of losing yourself because you agreed to that hypnotic state because that's how it was designed by the men who created modern day marriage. And if you were, anyway, you're spiritual, you would know that if you were truly spiritual, okay? So we need to understand spiritually, energetically, that this is all new to everybody. This is all new. I know we got AI, so it just feels like we're just so advanced, but we're actually not experientially. So you need to understand that when you're walking into a bar and you're meeting men, they are still very much archaic in their thinking, which is why, and because they've been trained like this for a long time, we got to understand this and don't be mad at it. Boom. And this is where you start to realize the privilege it is to be alive today. I know as women, so much of us are saturated and angry due to a combination of the decenter men conversation and they're rapists, sexual assault predators, that coupled with the fact that the truth is most of us have been lying about who we are. We don't even show who we are. We put on all these protection layers in the front and never let who we are show. Nobody knows our authenticity, our vulnerableness, our fierceness, our pure stream of expression without any dilution or filter that would have us trembling, crying, alive, laughing. Most of us don't even know ourselves in that way. And so how dare you be mad that a man treats you as less than when you act like less than? How dare you be mad that he doesn't honor the woman you are when he's never even seen her? And if he did, and perhaps one time, that one fleeting moment when he saw you and treated you like a full thing, you didn't even know what to do with it. So you shot it back to him and fell into this little girl that needed to be in the garden for him to get inside of a Superman role and play the protection thing. So the privilege of being alive today. And yes, it is a large responsibility, as I said earlier. The privilege of being alive today is that more of us are aware and are becoming aware. And more men, especially the younger ones, because they are watching, right? Your son, for those of you who have teenage sons or sons in their 20s, many of them, okay, admittedly, many of them have been negatively impacted by the red pill movement. But some of you have sons that are genuinely curious about what's going on with men and women at war. Mom, why? What is this? Well, and they really want to know women, and they're willing to be wrong. They're willing to look at the fact that we know dad was, this, that, and the third, or he was able to see how dad was that didn't work, or because children are so intuitive and honest, he saw that you were repressed. He saw that you were unhappy. He saw that you were lying. And he's like, Mom, I don't want to be like my dad like that. I don't want you to give up your dreams. I don't want my daughter to give up her dreams. I don't want my daughter to play small to make no man happy. I don't want my daughter to lie about who she is because some nigga, because men who love their daughters, come on, right? They don't want their daughter no submissive thing. Men with daughters who love them, no. They're telling their daughters, be who you are. Leave him. Get your education. Make sure you are this, this, and that. They game in school. You train men by who. Now, yes, there are hefty prices to pay. Yes, there are hefty prices. Because, a man is a man is a man. And it is actually against his nature to become whole. It is against a man's nature to become whole. Accept that. Don't be mad at it. Men do not know. I know our mothers modeled that he's the head. Well, they needed to create that to give them, And here's the thing. I also want to, this is a multi-part conversation because he's the head in the sense of he can go out and steward things with your presence in the house and being honest about who you are and what the desire is, and him being a large part of bringing things to life for you. In that sense, yes, he is a head. But in this way that our grandparents, grandmothers, and grandmothers modeled, he's not the head in that way. Men don't know. They don't know. They are so influenced by us, so influenced. And this is why, because they're so influenced by us, and because for years before you and I got here, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, I know I say that easy, but just think about that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before you and I got here, the male experience of women was of women being suppressed and playing small. This is why men today think we've lost our minds. They're, what you bitches? They're checking out, some of them. They're going overseas in droves to get those women over there because them women in them other countries, they know. That's not what it is. It's not about because they know the right order in them other countries. No. It's just that America is on the cutting edge of things. China is even more so on the cutting edge of things. And many of these women don't have the means. There's that. And the culture, just like what the culture was 100 years ago here in the United States. It's not because that's who she actually and naturally is. She does that because of the culture. And this is exactly why all the men who go overseas to get a woman, they tell the new ones who are coming, don't bring her to the US. Make sure you keep her over there. Why? Because she's only like that because she is over there. That's not what a woman is. So you, as the woman who's on the path of power, some of you will pay the price because you're with a man where you have operated the way those women do overseas. So he has been in marriage or dating or in relationship with you because you play that role. And as you start to come into real power, that man will either rise or he will leave. And you will decide who you will be in the process. And you will live with whatever price you pay. Whether you continue on your path of power or you quietly withdraw, suppress, and contort yourself into whatever you need to make sure he stays. This is what women are dealing with all the time. We just had a new woman join our woman community. She's married with 2 small children. And this came up in our Womanhood Initiation. She's like, well, he's still here. And the unspoken aspect was, I don't know if he's still going to be here as I grow into my authentic power. So, what do you do? Some folks were asking earlier, what do I do? What do I do? One, you begin to be radically honest. Now, I've been seeing content where, particularly Red Witch Things and Nicole Daedone, even Sure Seven says this in a way. She just guides you in a different way because remember, her goal is to help you get a provider man by lying to him in very refined ways. But what is the shared sentiment between all of them is an honesty, first of all, an honesty, and just sending that honesty out in different ways. Okay. Now, the way that I'm encouraging and that I also appreciate in the piece of content I saw with, I think it was Red Witch Things, where she said, I'll paraphrase it, so correct me if I'm incorrect, okay? Something like, holding a standard with men doesn't mean being rude to them. Holding a standard with men doesn't mean being mean, or these things that women think that, oh, I'm holding a standard. This, you gonna meet my standard. No, it's none of that. It's the kind of authenticity where there's no need to put an onus on him. There's no need to blame him. There's no need to, the kind of honesty where you hold the full responsibility of the emotions and the reality of the situation. Okay. Now, in that is a radical vulnerability. Radical. You could have things start to come out of you that you've never even consciously thought. But because you're willing to be completely vulnerable and reveal yourself in a way that perhaps you never have in that relationship, in your doing this specifically, okay, completely, where it's like that quote by Maggie Kuhn, she says, say it even if your voice shakes. You're not crying because you're trying to get to control him through your emotions. No. It's not even about any emotion or tears. It's about just being honest about who you've been, who you want, what you want, why you've been moving and acting the way you have. It's all on you. And then you're communicating in that way and arriving to the conversation with the intent to reveal yourself and be honest so that you are at peace with you. And you arrive to the conversation with your husband, with your boyfriend, with your children's father, with your actual blood father, with whoever the man is who you're having the conversation with. And you come with that level of ability and authenticity and rawness. And in that, he chooses to leave, he does not care. He cannot handle. And you need to be willing to endure any pain that comes with you finding out in truth, because many of you already know this. You're just afraid to sit in the reality of him verbalizing this to you or showing you directly. Being willing to endure the pain that this man who you have hinged your safety and protection to, this man who you are married to, this man who you have created children with, this man who is your father, this man who you have felt like was the man in your life, does not care and or cannot handle right now this vulnerable authenticity you brought forth, or in that rawness, that vulnerability that you are in complete responsibility of, in the moment, he raises and he meets you in it. This is how you train a man. You don't make anybody do anything. You don't try to control him. The way so many women who are in these submissive marriages, they are controlling the man underneath, making him think that he's the head and in control, but she's controlling underneath, and it's exhausting and draining. And there's huge amounts of resentment under there. That's why she dries up. She has headaches. She doesn't want to have sex. She's tired. But she's submissive and keeping the family together. This is how we train men. How does that feel? To sit fully relaxed, honest about who you've been, who you have not been, why you've lied, why you've repressed, why you've hung on for so long. How desperate it could feel, how alone and isolating it could feel, how shameful it could feel. And do you see how powerful that could be? It could elevate your life, how that can make you truly clean. Can you see that? Do you feel that? Do you want that? Somebody said, I feel angry. Why do you feel angry? Is this common? Why do you feel angry? For those of you who you're very clear that you have a call that's bigger than you, okay? Remember, although I know many of you are finding value here today, I'm the founder of the Academy for Womanhood, and we actually provide this as a service to women who some have a call that's bigger than them, and others are merely, and not to reduce it to merely, but there's women who are very called to the will to power to have great impact in the world. And there are others who don't necessarily feel compelled to influence the world at a great level, but they are compelled to live the life of their dreams, to come into their real power. And we serve both of those women. In this live stream, I'm more so talking to the women who have a call that's bigger than them. They're really called to authority type positions. When I mean authority, I don't mean the masculine version of like dominance over people. I mean, you have a message that you know is for you to bring forward. You have a system to bring forward, perhaps a new culture to bring forward, and you know that you're meant to serve some version of the masses, okay? That's more so who this live stream is for. And so if that's you, you know you're meant to be global. You're ready to do the work to become global. You're ready to start creating content for a global audience. I invite you into my Bigger Than You 9-day workshop. You really need to vet yourself. You vet yourself for this workshop by going to the link in my bio, clicking Bigger Than You, vetting yourself, and registering. If after you watch the 6-minute video, you read the page, you know that this is for you, okay? So that's the Bigger Than You 9-day workshop, link in bio. I'm angry because I feel so disconnected from a huge part of myself. That's so many women. How many women here feel the same way? This realization is amazing because of how polarizing it is, but I feel angered by the ignorance. How beautiful, right? It's just such the reality of a woman unfolding. It's like, this is so great. Oh my God, I fucking hate this shit. What a blessing. I'm so happy to be alive. Fuck, I want to go. Yeah. Like, it's just, and this also returns us to what I said earlier about what a privilege to be alive. What a privilege to be on a phone where I'm here in Sacramento. You are where you are, hearing me right now, and able to get this, and we're not worried about somebody coming to kill us. This is what I mean by what a privilege it is to be alive right now versus 1920 or 1820, where we didn't know what was going on in other people's houses unless we made friends with the neighbor and she was courageous enough to say something. How about that? Now, this is what I mean by what a privilege it is to be alive today. And this is also why my woman community exists, for this reason, to deconstruct and recreate. And it's hard and it's painful. So for those of you who are not on the Bigger Than You path, you should probably sign up for my Womanhood Initiation. That is also at the link in my bio. You can go up there and read details. So for all women who relate to this comment right here, that is a Siamese dream. She said, I have so much to deconstruct and recreate. For those of you who are on that path, and you're ready for a community that's doing exactly that, deconstructing and recreating, my Womanhood Initiation is for you. Again, read the details on the page, watch the video, make sure it's for you. We are a company over here. So we are in the business of helping women come into their power. The women who have a call that's bigger than them, and the other women who they don't necessarily have a call that's bigger than them, that requires they be front-facing and international, but they are sincere about their full erotic power. What I'm feeling like I'd like to move forward with is the sex of it all. And when I say sex, I don't mean intercourse only. I mean the erotic impulse of life, what Nietzsche called the will to power, or what the spiritual community calls life force, energy. All that. That is sex. It is the pulse of life happening all the time, that we're constantly choking and knocking down and judging and fighting against and going against. Withhold sex and attention, or actually be powerful. Withhold, I'm not giving that nigga no pussy, because that works. Wow. That restores such power, clean power, and harmony in the house. Yeah. Don't even look at him. Don't even talk to him. Oh, wow. That's the ticket. Let's make sure we teach the world that that's how it works. Again, this is how we train men. So this is going to get a bit complex. Okay, this is going to get perhaps triggering more than it may have already. Oh, thank you. So I deal in the organic. I deal in just the reality. Just when I say reality, I mean removing all the stories I can make up about something, all the ideologies I can make up about something, anything that I'll just put in the way, anything, a feeling, putting a feeling in the way, you know, wanting to create separation, I can put that in the way. I can, oh, this, but the children, oh, but the Bible, oh, but and I can do that. Like, that's what people do, right? I can throw up anything to break reality. And it still doesn't negate the fact that reality is happening. Actually, what I end up doing is I end up creating all kinds of tension because I keep putting shit in the way of reality because how I feel, I don't like it, because this, because that, because that. And this is how humans are living all the time. What does this have to do with the flow of life happening all the time? And why a woman's real power, which is soft, it doesn't need to fight and push forward or control a man from underneath or control him by giving coochie, not giving coochie, even giving compliments to sway him to attention, to fall into the submission role, because that's going to keep and out of the real power. Like, none of these games that we play, because I'm being mindful. When a woman doesn't want her real power, all of this is sufficient. She'll hang out there for her entire life. When she either doesn't want her real power, which so many women today too, but if we talk about our great-grandmothers and great-great-grandmothers, they did all this because they were playing the survivalist game. When you're playing the survivalist game, nobody wins. Now, if your metric for winning is we have food and housing, then okay, yes, you are winning. But today, what a privilege it is to be alive in 2025. Is the metric for winning food and housing? Like, is that it for you? Is that all you're after? Just food and housing? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing some of your potential metrics for winning are having an ease with the creation and management and multiplication of money. That's part of the metrics for success, right? One of the metrics for success is you being authentic and still winning. One of the metrics for success is you being raw and weeding out who's for you, like who, wants to be in your life under those conditions and who doesn't. That's a metric for success. Having relationships where you get to be who you are, that's a metric for success. Living where you really want to live versus only living where your little bit of money allows you to live, that's a metric for sex. How about having the sex you actually want to have, which may be inclusive of more than one man? That's a metric for success. Living between 2-3 continents, perhaps that's a metric for success. So I say this to say that, if your metric for success is just food and housing, you're not going to care. And so many women, that is their metric for success. As long as he paid his mortgage, these bills, and put food in his house, we cool. You got to know what you're after here. Because if that's your only metric, you're living a survivalist game, and that is enough for many women. Even if in that survivalist game, they're pulling all kind of undercurrent moves with their husband, they're resentful, their life is, unsatisfaction, overweight, policing, all the things. I say that as a prelude for this topic. Black women, also known as melanin dominant women, with a call that's bigger than them, who are willing and know that it's time for them to sit in the power that that we so fear and crave at the same time. This power would have us being, our being is the erotic force. Really look at this. Really look at this. Really feel this. How much of you is tense when you go out in the world? Target, grocery store to get gas. How much of you is wearing a mask? How much of you is invested in looking good at the expense of your authentic self? Your authentic self would have you looking so different to your current brunch buddies, to your current client base, to your current colleagues who you are in creative projects with right now. And that walking as the erotic state, which is easier said than done, we're so for good reason scared of it and unfamiliar with it. And what in your imagination right now, and even in like just bringing it into the right now, where there's nothing in you that needs to wear anything. There's nothing in you that needs to explain, prove, look good to your colleagues, even sound like makes sense. Does that make sense? It makes zero sense. How about that? And walking around the world like that, creating your content like that, communicating with the men in your life like that, communicating with your mom like that, your colleagues, just like that. Additionally, your pussy is open. You're not clenched in your womb, scared of being seen. This is work, people. You being inspired. Somebody here earlier said, I'm so inspired. That's fleeting. This is work. That's why my Womanhood Initiation is available to sign up for if you're ready to do the work. That's why my Bigger Than You workshop is available to sign up for when you're ready to do the work. And again, those links are in the bio. This is work. Okay? It is painful. It is uncomfortable. And it is the most exhilarating work you will ever do. So, I want to bring back to the forefront that this is all very new. I know we're in 2025 TikTok AI. So it all feels like, oh my God, we're so free. We can do what we want. We can travel. We can, oh my God, we can make our own money. We can, and it all feels, especially if you've grown up on the internet, it just feels like, well, this is the way it's been. And we know our mothers and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers and our, what? It was a survivalist game. And you gonna go to your mama and great grandmama talking about, Mom, I'm living with my pussy open. Girl, what? Erotic power? What is this about? What? Come on now. What? Life force? Yeah. Well, the Bible say, listen. Yes. It is so radically foreign, especially for Black women, to be aroused. To be honest, just honest here in advancing ways. Because here's also a truth. How many of us would be having sex with multiple men if we were honest here? And not, when you're not in your power, having sex with multiple men sounds like you hear men say, taking in all of that DNA and that's why women brain, because you taking in all them men, all that energy, all them soul ties. And see, then you need to take a spiritual bath, man. Or see, that's why chicks got mental illness. These bitches is crazy, man. Fucking all these niggas body count. All these fucking body counts. These bitches is When a woman is not in her power. Yeah, all that is true, man. Yeah. Because she's not in the power when she opens her legs. She's fucking for a transaction. She's fucking to get bills paid. She's fucking to keep her husband off of porn. She's fucking to stop her husband from going on that boys' trip to Colombia. She's fucking to get this man's attention, to fill a hole in her, to quiet the insecurity in her. Yeah, when she's fucking from that, she is just a soggy ass flower who doesn't know who she is. So the sperm is just knocking her out. The nigga dick is just knocking a bitch down. And she crying over the dick. And she just hallucinating over the dick. And please. Yeah. Again, we have trained men to think that we just weak little things that need to be in the garden protected by the man. Oh God. Oh God. And this is why, for melanin dominant women specifically, this is so foreign to us, and it is time now. Now. It is time to develop the heat in our bodies, the heat in our throats, the heat in our head, the heat in our pussy, the heat in our feet, the heat in our aliveness. It is time to retrain the whole world on what a woman is. Your man wants porn. Your man wants the woman in Colombia. Your man wants a divorce. Your man is only fucking you one day a week, if that. Your man got a side piece because you are cold. You're trading your pussy to get the mortgage paid and food in your belly. You're cold. This is why half the time you don't want to open your legs to him. You're cold and evil and smiling, talking about the Bible. You need heat. Never mind the man. This leveling up that we love to talk about takes heat. Sure, Seven told you that. She called it energy. You need energy to be powerful. You need energy to live radically honest. You need energy to be free. You need energy to make the money. Energy is life force energy flowing all the time that you can't even handle in your body. You want to knock it down because you don't like the way the truth feels. Knock it down because what about that? Knock it down because the Bible said knock it down. The truth is hot. Like the truth you feel when you walk into the barbershop and you want to fuck 3 of them. Like the heat of is how much you love playing slave girl. How much you want to be subdued. You want to ride that thing. You want to be soft and to receive the activation of a man responding to a hot body. You want to be vulnerable and soft and to know who you are when you are splayed open without fighting and tensing and defending and scared. You want to know the heat and the sensation of that. But instead, because you've allowed yourself to be conquered by his wallet, conquered by the fear of not having the mortgage paid, of not looking like a good woman, conquered by society's expectations, you've gone cold. You open your coochie out of duty, your cold coochie. You open it to get the mortgage paid, and he fucks it, ejaculate, and is still unfulfilled. It takes heat. This is how we retrain men. He gonna stay or he gonna go. How does this feel? You mad that he looking at that hot thing? Well, you cold. Where he gonna go? Life is hot. Real power, real life is hot. This is why I say modern day marriage neuters and sedates the electricity of life, particularly for Black people. We need real family. The family that if you were to tell the truth, they would orchestrate themselves. Your real family would orchestrate themselves if you were in the hot, electric truth of the reality of life. But no, we whittle ourselves down into these marriages because the Bible said. And all of y'all, maybe not you, but we know them, all of y'all. Talking about keep your family together. What family? The cold, evil family? Where the wife is resentful, overweight, mad at the husband, controlling her from underneath, and he mad as well, looking for pussy elsewhere, looking for feminine energy elsewhere, looking for heat elsewhere. That's the Bible's way? Oh, something is off around here. All these preachers with they good wives at home being exposed for the mistress and getting her pregnant, and yet he's going where the hotness is. He's going where the hotness is. Tell your pastor I said it. Matter of fact, clip this out and send it to all the pastors. Send it to all the good Black families. Send it to all the good Black husbands and the good Black wives. Evil. Send it to them. Tell the truth. Tell the hot truth. And for a woman, you don't even have to talk. Get your body hot and it will do the talking for you. Your husband will feel it. Men everywhere feel it. Your kids will feel it. Everything you touch. Because heat, we feel it when it enters the room. Tomorrow, he want another wife. He ain't going to be able to handle another. Most men can't even handle a woman. Because a woman, an actual woman, is hot. She's alive. She's very much engaged. She is life force without needing to kill it with explanation and busyness and trying to look good and masks. But because we've trained men that a hot, evil woman is a good woman, that's a cold, evil woman is a good woman. Modest. He gonna eat it. He gonna marry it. He gonna sign up for it. She gonna get sick. He gonna be off looking for another thing. This is what our out of survival, this is what our grandmothers, great grandmothers, great this is how they train men. We are privileged to be alive today to retrain the men who are open to being retrained. Let the rest of them go get the hot pussy overseas, because they're going to get that attention, hot attention. That's what they want. They want an open pussy woman's attention. They want a beautiful, hot pussy, smiling, available woman's attention on them. That's what they're going for. Whether it shows up in the form of her cooking butt naked, ready to ride his dick and suck it until he falls to sleep, knowing that that's all he paying for. But still, they want the heat of that attention and electricity. You're not doing anything useful, helpful in a powerful way withholding sex and attention. How many of you have figured that out? That withholding sex and attention only creates bitterness in your house. It only emboldens him to do whatever he needs to do to go get the coochie, the attention, the heat elsewhere. How many of you married women or you've been living with him for a long time have figured that out? I got a headache. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. Versus turning on the heat. You can start turning on the heat by telling the vulnerable truth that would make your body shake, that would make your voice shake. Start there. That would reveal the weakness in you, the softness in you, the fear in you, the evil in you, the petty in you, the scared little girl in you, the hunger in you. Start there. That'll get the heat going for sure. Are you willing to do that, Alana Smith? Every day for the rest of your life? Are you willing to reveal how weak you are? What you're hungry for? How you've played small? How you know how to put on that powerful, independent woman shit, but you actually feel like a fragile, needy thing. You love to be like, niggas ain't shit, decenter men, them niggas ain't nothing but predators who siphon feminine energy. Fuck them niggas. But the truth is, you want to be fucked to sleep by one of them niggas. Or two of them. Look, Siamese Dream said at the same time, tell the truth. Because guess what? That OnlyFans girl, that porn girl, them chicks in Colombia and Dominican Republic and just all the places they go for heat. Philippines, all the places they go for heat and attention. She's telling him, she's whispering it in his ear, licking his ear, rubbing his scrotum area over his pants. Hot. Why you talking about you got a headache? Your back hurt. You don't feel like it. Because you've allowed this system to conquer your heat. You've allowed the need to look good, to be a good wife, to make you cold. He's starving for heat. And this is where it gets complex. Grapist, they're siphoning feminine energy. This is why they want multiple women, because they want to siphon the energy from multiple women. They're starved for feminine. Why is that demonized? Do you not know who you are? Why is it demonized that they're starved to be in connection with you? Why is that bad? Why is it that because so many of us have traded our power to get the mortgage paid, and we could take it back further, we don't want the responsibility? That's part of why I brought up, are you going to be responsible for your relationship with your son? How you show up with your father, how you show up with your male cousins, how you show up with your male colleagues. This is how we retrain men. And when you relinquish that responsibility and you fall into this fake what do you call that? Damsel. Women proudly talk about being damsel. I heard a man, that podcast, that popular one that so many Black people like to watch, that married couple, and he called his wife a damsel. Perhaps he would not want to be married to her if she didn't play damsel. You see the trade? So then you become cold as a damsel. You don't want to have sex. You got a headache. Your pussy dries up. There's nothing hot about you. You might turn it on to grab his attention every now and again, because you see that he just seems like because when men aren't getting the heat of the feminine, they start wandering. And the wandering shows up in different ways. They just don't come home straight away. They start finding other things to get into where they can draw in women some kind of a way. They just start roaming, looking for something, because you over there cold, damsel. It's kind of cute when you're 22 and it's fresh, right? Because you got the age part on your side, but there's still no heat there. It's just you grabbing him by the nose, keeping him hooked in, but it's never any real power there. This is rich. You see how, this is what our great grandmothers, they could have, it would have been a different price to pay, but this is what they were not doing. This is what they could not teach us, or didn't teach us, or model for us. Okay. So this activation of the heat, it looks like this. Being honest in this house. And it's going to totally reorient your relationship completely. I feel like there was a thought that I was on and I went off. Maybe it'll come back. Or did somebody catch that? You can bring it back here up in the comments. But you train men by how you are with them. They're responding to us always, 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 always. And we have okay, thank you. We have thank you. Here we go. I was at the point of how we've demonized that they want multiple women. Well, because so many of them are barely getting any kind of anything from any woman, because we're transacting our coochie all the time. And most of us are not even in responsibility of our heat, our arousal, our power. We're walking around closed, mad, tense, disconnected from ourselves. That's a whole other topic. Hold on one second. Let me write this down. We got a poor memo. And this is, I want to just give voice to some empathy in this moment, because society is built to keep everybody sedated and controlled. So everybody, immediately when we start talking about heat and real power, everybody's mind instantly gets hooked into marriage because it's set up that way. So most of us can't really fathom being in this kind of expression of ourselves, because we're like, what about marriage? Well, what about, because we're all hooked into that psychically, deeply. It's been around long before you and I got here. So I give some empathy for that, because I see how people wrestle with this topic because of that social cultural norm. Okay. So when, just think about this for yourself. Just think with your own mind. When did it become bad that men want feminine energy? When did that become bad? When did that become siphoning? Don't you like being around men who like being around you? Or people who like being around you? When did it become bad that men like sex? When did it become bad that he wants to have sex with her and her? When did that become bad? Why do we see it as bad? Why do we see it as bad that he wants to talk to you and he wants to sit next to her and he wants to, why is that bad? If we were at a house party and it was kicking, the music was 90s perfect, we had every drink, all your favorite drinks, we had all your favorite snacks, and it was 25 men, or let's say 15 men, 15 men, 15 women, and everybody was cool. And you felt, man, it was alive, it was popping. You only want to be allowed to talk to one dude? Because we want to be the only one for him. Why? What does that give you? This is great. Edel, is it Edel? This is great. Why do you want to be the only one for him? Because if you trace that down, that's going to be very enlightening. Why do you want to be the only one for him? And when you say we, you mean you? Or you think that's the female collective? I'd love for you to talk for yourself if that's you. You want to be the only one for him. We got to go to the deeper spot where this stuff comes from. Yes, ma'am. Okay, good. Why do you want to be the only one for him? What does that tell you? What does that signal for you that he only wants you? How does that make you feel? That you are the only one for him forever and always. How does that make you feel? What does that give you? And how many of us can admit of being in a situation like this where there's a bunch of men around and you want to talk to several of them? He cute, he's smiling, he seemed friendly, he cool. Oh, it is so, oh God, it's like a candy store. How many women here have been in a situation like that? Whether it was like a day party or somewhere, right? A house party, a rooftop situation. It's just, man, it was kicking. Everybody was looking good. The vibes was right. The mood. And you want to go to talk to him. You want to talk to him. You want to talk to him. And why is it a problem when they want to do it? Why is it bad? Why is it siphoning divine feminine energy? When did it become that? And then it's like, well, because the feminine energy is more valuable than the masculine. Okay, so let's play with that one. Do we want to play with that one? Do we want to play with that one? Because the men, they drain you. They only drain the women who aren't in their power. Y'all need to understand. When y'all say, whatever that trend was about who I was before a man and who I was after, and there's all this talk about how alive women are before the man, then they get with the man and they're drained. She allowed that. Are we going to tell it? This is what it looks like when you trade your coochie for money. You get drained. You play damsel, you become cold. This is yet another example of women not taking responsibility for their power. And listen, I get it, we get it. But this is what I mean by today is a new day. And the women who are serious about their power, who want to be able to move around sexually, you want to be in the heat of him and him. You might be talking to 10 and having sex with 2, but you're deciding how that goes and full responsibility for your power. And in that, your family reveals itself because this stuff is already set up. In many ways, this is, listen, you see somebody who you know, it, or y'all just, it happens by itself, like without even you make it work, without all of that. And when you're truly spiritual, you're trusting all the mechanics of spiritual reality. You're not trying to impose and enforce. Make it. It is not a problem for men to desire feminine energy. It is not a problem for women to desire masculine energy, to desire to even the way we will call forth a man when we're honest. Men are honest a lot of time. We're the ones who lie. We make them lie. Yeah, he lied to me. You made him lie because the truth was too much heat for you. And I don't mean like you made him lie, but I mean, goddamn, if he wants some pussy and he need to lie to get the pussy from you, then what you expect? When he was looking at you and he was seeing that you wasn't responding well to the truth, he had to switch it up. I mean, again, are we going to deal in the reality of things, or would you prefer the feeling you prefer? When he told you wanted another woman, you went batshit crazy because this whole time, all your love was conditional. You don't really want him to be who he is. Hell no. Nigga. Because who he really is somebody who he actually would like to have sex with her too. And he want to be in an intimate relationship with her, maybe not sex with her, but he want to take care of her in other ways. No! Because you done turned cold. You've been trading your coochie for mortgage and food for the last 20 years. You done dried up. If you are absolutely ready, not just because you're inspired in the moment. It's so easy to be inspired in the moment. No. I mean deeper. If you're ready to really wake up your relationship with getting into the work and practice of becoming hot, true, raw, and you're ready to work with my company to do it, I invite you into my Bigger Than You workshop if you're ready for help in being bigger than you with your work, or my Womanhood Initiation. The Womanhood Initiation is a strict focus on power for whatever you want it for. And Bigger Than You is for those of you who know you're called to do bigger work, collective work. You actually have a calling. Okay, so the Bigger Than You workshop is for those of you who have an actual calling. The Womanhood Initiation is for those of you who want to focus very much on the power bit. Okay, and the next one is coming up very soon. So go to the link in my bio, vet yourself for the Womanhood Initiation and or the Bigger Than You workshop. Okay. Thank you for sharing the live stream, Anna. Oh, this is good. I like this. I'm just now seeing this comment. Uh, okay, I was referring to, I'm just now seeing your comment, Amethyst. I don't know if you're still here. You said, speaking for myself, it gives a sense of control. Are you referring to the comment about if he only has sex with me, that makes me feel like I'm in control? Is it? Let me know. And then this comment right here that says, I don't respect a man who goes with other women because I want a good father for my future kids. Great. So let's look into this because this is relevant for a lot of women who think like this. What does him going with, and when you say goes with, you mean has sex with, right? I'm assuming. What does him having sex with other women have to do with him being a good father? And what is a good father? Like a good woman. Like, what is a good woman? What is a good father? We go deep here into the real depth of your humanity, the real depth of your thinking. If you want to keep it, and I'm saying this to everybody, not just Edel, this is not just to her, this is to everybody who's going to watch this replay on YouTube. This is to all of you who are here now, because this is about changing the world, the consciousness of humanity for me. Where did you get the idea of what a good man is and what a good woman is? We go deep over here. We deal in the realm of true power, life force, not the ideologies that we put on life force, not the religion that we put on life force, not the preferred conditions we put on life force, not the scarcity control tactics that we put on life force. We deal in the aliveness in everyday life of life force, minus all the binds of good woman, binds of good man. Now, guess what? The joy is that we can all do what we choose. What I'm saying is, over here, we are in freedom. We are in flight. We are not in teaching how to keep a woman in the shackles or the limitations of a good woman. And that if you come up outside of this limitation, you're a bad woman. And the same thing for a man, that this is what makes you a good man, and anything outside of that makes you a bad man. And to question ourselves sincerely, curiously, without judgment about where we got these ideas from. Because I can assure you, and as you already know, for those of you who have small children, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, they only know what you teach them. So your idea of a bad woman, a bad man came from somewhere, and you want to check and make sure it's true for you, not necessarily you picked up and now you're calling it just true. Can a good father have 2 households and take care of his kids and wife? Can he have 2 wives, 3 wives under the same roof and have 12 kids and take care of all those kids? Or is it only good when it's one wife under one roof? And what makes it bad when it's 2 wives under one roof? What makes that bad? He's taking care of them, loving them, the house goes well, everybody's taken care of. He's an actual man, not, know what I've been saying here. He actually knows what a woman is. These women don't have to play damsel, be less of themselves. What makes it bad when he has 2 wives? Does anyone else have any questions? Ah, are you just putting that out there for people to consider Siamese dream, or is that an actual question? Ask a specific question. You know how much advice there is? Yeah, so you're entitled to that, Edel. Just make sure you pick a man who's only wants one woman. You know, you better make sure he only wants one woman for the rest of his life. Okay, and you be available to provide what he needs every year for the next, I don't know, you plan on being married for 50 years? You better make sure you can provide and that you are all those things for the next 50 years. And that's for everybody here, okay? Be honest. It's about, and this is for everybody. You need to know what your aim is. This is why I've reiterated here that this is about freedom. So I'm probably not the person to ask questions if you're looking for a life that is not free. Okay, when I say free, I mean you're not binding yourself to anything. You are living in flight and you are developing the heat and the power to do so. Under those conditions, most of you probably don't want this position, our services, what we're doing over here. All these things to consider. Does it get you free? All these questions. Does it get you free by your definition of freedom? That's it. Does it get you free? Does it give you what you most want? Aquarian goddess says, no man wants one woman for the rest of his life. The women who choose to live in the mindset that the man wants, that's what I mean. You will have to live with these beliefs you hold, no matter the belief, whether it's about men, money, life, yourself, your body. All right, I'm wrapping up now. This is the final call for questions. Only good questions, please. When I say good, I mean, if it's something you can Google, Google it. Okay. So 45 seconds. And if there's no questions, I'm out of here. I thank you all so much for being here. I remind you, Bigger Than You workshop and Womanhood Initiation, you can vet yourself with the links in my bio. Thank you for the hearts. Okay. You all take good care of yourselves.